but they weren't Googling just the term locker rentals, right? They were looking up, maybe festival rentals Chicago, or, locker rentals golf tournament, and that kind of thing. So
all right, we are recording. Today I have on Molly O'Connor from the Mobile Locker Co. She runs a business that's events-based and it's offline, and she gets all her customers, or the majority, from online. And today she's going to teach you how to do that. So we're going to start off. She's going to go through what her company is, what they do. She's going to tell us about how they started trying to acquire customers online, and then what eventually became successful for her. So stay to the end of this conversation, and you can literally apply this right to your business. So Molly O'Connor, thank you for coming on to talk to me today.
Absolutely. Thank you for having me.
Definitely. Yeah. And so we went through a little bit of your background here, but since that was us speaking in private, could you just talk a little bit about what Mobile Locker Co. is, who you are, and why you started this company?
Sure. So we have been around for about 4 years now. The company started as actually a solution to a pain point that I had myself as a runner. Going to road races, basically the bag check options were either inconvenient or insecure, and I just thought there has to be something better. So we started actually just with really just a focus in New England, and really focusing primarily just on road races. So we're looking at half marathons, 5Ks, that kind of thing. And throughout the first, 8 months or so, we realized that not only can this be applied to so many different regions, we started to get inquiries about other events. So as security needs are only increasing at large venues, tournaments, concerts, festivals, all of those types of events, they need a solution for their attendees. You park a mile away, you take a shuttle to the main gate or whatever it is, and you find out that your purse is 1 inch too big. What are you going to do with it, right? So now we've added what I call spectator events to our schedule as well. So we're still doing the road races and lots of mud runs and those kinds of events, and also the spectator side. And we have expanded beyond New England. So now we are we have 5 trucks in 5 regions, depending on the season. So basically Northeast, Southeast, Midwest, and West Coast.
Oh, wow. That's a lot now.
Yeah.
And has this expanded? I guess it has expanded beyond road races. Are you guys doing things as big as like concerts and stuff, or is it still small?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. We'll be at the Beyonce concert in Orlando on next Wednesday. So that my event manager is very excited about that one. So we do, we are either partnering with venues, or we're partnering with one-off production folks at concerts. So yeah, concerts, festivals, golf tournaments. We're still doing the road race arena for sure. We do Spartan races and warrior dashes all over the country. And and then we're also doing short-term rentals too. So that would be, if a hotel was redoing their locker room, we could go and just set up outside, and that way their employees can use our lockers for, 4 or 5 days until they can get back into the locker room.
Yeah. Wow, a lot of uses.
Yeah.
That's pretty, I'm pretty impressed. I didn't realize it had expanded to that many different types of things. So I know that you had a background in sales and marketing. Read a little bit about that. I'm sure that helped you, but before the call, we talked about how you still had to iterate through a ton of different channels and different strategies for acquiring these customers. And you wanted to be able to do it online, assuming you know how powerful it could be. So you wanted to make that work. So how did you start out? What sort of strategies and actual channels were you using starting out? And how did that change over time?
Sure. So the best way I can describe it is when we first started focusing on getting the word out there and doing that digitally. It's, the only way to go these days. The first strategy was just sort of get be as, cast a wide net, just throw everything out there that we could. So we were, in terms of a little bit of paid search and some very modest SEO on our own site, we were being very general. So we were, putting in terms like locker rentals or storage needs and that kind of thing, thinking, we got to catch, the most people that we can. And that would be looking, on the client side. So looking to reel in some inbound leads that way. And then when it came to the other marketing tools, we're really using Instagram and Twitter and Facebook. Again, we were being very broad. So we had the idea that what we could do is to note most of our online rentals come from the competitive side. So the road races are the folks who are preparing in advance, but also festivals. And we do for certain events put up online rentals, golf tournaments, and that kind of thing if people are preparing. And so in the beginning, in terms of grabbing individual rentals, again, we were using that wide net. We were trying to just catch anyone who might be going to any event and might be looking for a locker rental, which was too broad of a challenge. Yeah. It was, after years of doing that, you sort of look back and you're thinking, wow, my mom's really liking a lot of our Facebook posts, but no, not that many.
Not a lot of other people. I've had that experience.
So that was sort of our initial broad strategy. And recently we realized we need to rejigger that a little bit. Mm-hmm. So moved on to a little bit more focused. So basically we took what we know. So we're in, the 5 regions that we're operating in. We know we're doing, 8 to 10 different types of events. So on the client side, just sort of stepped back and said, how are we getting these events booked? And basically folks were looking, yes, they were looking for locker rentals, but they weren't Googling just the term locker rentals, right? They were looking up, maybe festival rentals Chicago, or, locker rentals golf tournament and that kind of thing. So I synced up with an SEO firm that did a lot of that work to look at and see, how are people actually going to get to us that's going to turn into something meaningful, which has been huge. The first week we overhauled our SEO on our site. I think we got triple the inbound leads, and they were way more qualified than, the ones that we get from Denmark and Hawaii, which I would love to be able to serve, but unfortunately we're not there yet. And then on the client side, what we found out was to get ahead of the game and get those online rentals coming in advance, we really had to rely on the event to send the message out to their attendees or their athletes. So, for a road race, for example, we really need them to do some hard social media pushes. We need to be mentioned in emails. That's sort of the top, the top way to convert people into grabbing a locker. Another way would be to be added to the registration, which makes it a one-step, you're saying, yes, I want a t-shirt. I'm going to run, a 10-minute mile, and yes, I want a locker and that kind of thing. And then also with the event, we've got the mention in emails, social mentions, and then also on their website. So when you're a runner and you're saying, what's my day look like? We really need to be part of that sort of race day guide. And same thing when it comes to festivals and that sort of thing. We really just needed to, we were sort of spinning wheels trying to get in front of the 5,000 runners that might be at any given race. Really hard for us to find them in the general digital world, really easy for the event to find them. And then the other way we have been using social media is actually sort of as a follow-up for the events. We have a lot of folks who follow, a lot of people who run the Spartan races over and over again, who run the races that we do that are one-offs, but they run them every year. For example, we do a really big one in Massachusetts is the Falmouth Road Race. So it's really important for us to get after the race, after any Spartan or any Falmouth or any half marathon that we do, get a little bit of social presence out there so that when runners are saying, oh, I want to go see, I want to look up hashtag Spartan Boston, and they want to see if they can find themselves in pictures or, show their girlfriend the obstacle they just did, they'll find us and be like, oh, wait, there were lockers there? And so that way we can sort of be in their minds for next time around, because there's a lot of folks who are habitual when it comes to the athletic events that they end up signing up for.
Yeah, no, I can see that working great after they've repeatedly seen these events, photo reels, and just see these lockers in there every time. They're like, yeah, maybe I should not leave my stuff in a pile at the start line next time.
Exactly.
Stolen. No, that's really cool. So the three, it sounds like there's three main things, and let me know if I'm missing one, because this is what I got from your thing, was that you switched your targeting online from trying to just target everyone that might be a customer to targeting the events and being a little more specific with your geographic targeting. You use that social media kind of as branding for the after event photography specifically, like letting people know what you do. You're at the event, getting in pictures, getting on those hashtag pages. And then the last one is working with event organizers to actually integrate your services into their checkout or their race day pamphlets or whatever they're doing that kind of teach people about how the event is going to happen. Give them an opportunity to see your products.
Right. Exactly. And it changes your metrics around a little bit. I mean, it's a little bit of a hit when you're seeing, oh, I'm reaching, it's just exciting to reach, however many thousands of people in a paid ad on Facebook, for example. But if those people aren't, good fits for your service, or they don't even live in an area where you're going to physically be, it's wasted eyeballs. So yeah, definitely tailoring that down to make sure we're making the most of our efforts. And that's proven to be pretty successful. So
yeah, I know you guys are doing pretty well. Clearly expanding really fast. So one thing I'm wondering, well, there's a few. The biggest one is, how did you guys do the integrations with the event organizers? Like, how do you get someone to add you to their page or put you in their pamphlet or even put you in their checkout? That seems
Sure. So for a lot of events, there's a little bit of a carrot in that we work on a revenue share basis. So the event is motivated not just because it's a great service to offer their attendees, but because there's financially a little bit of a reward tied to any extra marketing that they can give us. I will say if they are active in including us on emails, and if we can make it into their registration system, sales increase anywhere from twofold to 10 times as many as we would have. Wow. You're just catching that many more people, especially, the folks that don't, they basically look at what time they need to be somewhere and the address, and they don't look at anything else. So, if we can say, we're going to get, if you can add us to the registration, you're going to get X amount more dollars, most likely. They're happy to do it. We try to do our best to make it really easy on their end. So if it's not a system that can easily, take on an added purchase option, we will just send them the link. So that link can be put, during the checkout or registration phase when they're checking out, or it can be included in their confirmation email, which is a great way to reach people as well. So it's, hey, thanks for signing up for the race. Follow this link and you can grab a locker, make sure you pick your size early so that you make sure, you have a locker for the race day.
Wow.
So that's been really great. Yeah.
I can see that working. So do you have to, do you guys on your end just set up a special checkout page for that event, and then they can link people to checkout page you guys set up?
Exactly. Yep. So not all events want us to
offer the online rentals. When they don't want us to, it's usually out of concern. They don't want them to run out on site. But I think it's always the best, it's the best user experience. I think people feel a lot more comfortable when they know they can show up. They know they've got a locker. They've got their plan for the day, whether it's a golf tournament or a mud run or a half marathon. So we like to push to be able to do that. But sometimes we unfortunately do have to just do the on-site rentals. But yeah, so each page gets its own, each event gets its own page with the locker sizes. If it's a multi-day event, we just, they select their day and they select their locker size. And we monitor inventory on our end to make sure we're not over-promising and under-delivering in terms of what lockers we have. But yeah, it worked out well.
Yeah, no, that thing about not being running out, I'm sure I could see event organizers being worried about that, making their event, negative comments or
exactly.
That's great though. That's super helpful. On the SEO side now, earlier you said that you switched your targeting. You actually used an SEO agency. So how was that experience? Most people who run a business can probably find an SEO agency, but what advice would you give people maybe about what type of SEO agency or what type of SEO they should focus on if you're a physical events company?
So it took me a little bit of time because we have a fairly tight budget. I jokingly call myself the CEO, Chief Everything Officer, because I'm really the only full-time. So basically the way we're set up is I am the only full-time staffer, and then I have part-time folks who are helping me physically run the event. And everything else, or as much as I can, I delegate out to individuals or, contract a company to help me out. And it's always, it always has to be friendly on the budget. And when I was looking for an SEO firm to help me with this, I was having a little bit of trouble because the pricing was, there's a difference between a small business with 50 employees and a small business with 1 employee. So I found that a lot of the firms that I was finding in my just online search, they looked great, but their budgets were just, so far from what it would make more sense for me to hire someone full time than to contract these guys.
How much are you talking, out of curiosity, for these firms aimed
at? $10,000 a year. I know that was one that was advertised as a very affordable option. For me, I would rather just hire someone to do that and a bunch of other stuff. And I ended up, the firm that I found, they do an introductory, setup of your site for $500, which I thought was more than affordable. And then you have the option to just take that and, you're set up with the SEO incorporated into your page, or you can have them continue to update and monitor. And I believe it's about $110 a month, or maybe $170, but way more affordable. And for me, that's all I needed. And so that was definitely the better option for me, because our needs don't change that much. I might reach out to them and say, hey, we're opening in Charlotte next month. Can we add, a little bit more targeting to the Southeast region, so we can start getting people, eyes on our website for events in that region. And they can do that easily for me, but we don't, we're a small operation and we needed, something that worked with our budget, but that obviously was going to be also, effective. And so that's why I wanted a firm that I could look them up. I could look up reviews, real testimonials, versus finding, a local, SEO expert who, they might be doing this on the side, or they're sort of an individual firm. So yeah, we're super happy with what we ended up finding. It did take a little bit of digging, but we got there.
Yeah, that's really good. That's awesome. So the last one is your social media, using that for a little bit of branding. So are you guys, what channels are you on? I'm assuming Instagram and a couple others, but what channel are you guys operating on, and how do you usually structure those posts?
Sure. So our biggest focus is Instagram. It's just the best. I think it's the best platform in terms of getting a nice visual out there. You can gather the eyeballs a little easier than you can with Facebook and even Twitter. So we focus mainly on Instagram, and the content that we really want to put out there is a mixture of what we do and who we are. So the truck on site at events, pictures of my staff, people who have been renting with us, and that kind of thing. And then we also sort of use that small business angle a little bit, and the women-owned angle as well. So, just pushing out, business insights, but they might be, it might be motivation for someone who's also training for a Spartan race and has ended up following us. So it can be like a little bit universal. But in terms of, where our biggest focus is, I would say number one, Instagram. Number two, Facebook. Even though it's more of a struggle, I think we're still looking for that big Facebook audience, which is a little bit older. So we're still using Facebook a good amount, and the events I find that we work with are a little bit more active on Facebook still usually. And then we try to keep our Twitter, alive, but it's not the best fit for us, just because there's so much that gets pushed out in the Twitterverse. Facebook and Instagram, your posts end up having a little bit more of a life rather than Twitter. So so that's where we've been putting our efforts.
That's awesome. Yeah, no, I mean, Twitter, I think is tough for any business. It's not the greatest medium for business messages, and it's super ephemeral. It's like gone in a second. So
Right.
So one thing I kind of wanted to find out is, I know you had a background in sales and marketing. I'm not sure how much that included online customer acquisition, but what would you suggest for people that maybe have no background in sales and marketing, but they still want to be able to acquire customers for these online, for a brick and mortar company or events company?
Sure. I mean, I would say if I could backtrack and save myself a little bit of trial and error, I probably would have sat down and literally drawn out a physical diagram of how your customers are going to be getting to you. So for us, it's most likely on the renter side, they're going to be associating themselves with an event. Then they're going to be going to that event page, and that event page is going to be sending them to us. If I had done that 2 years ago, I might have been able to save myself a little bit of time when we were just sort of looking to catch them, generally surfing the web somehow, and find them that way. And then, if it's a new client, our path would be, they're literally having a meeting about what they need for their event. Okay, they need lockers. Sally is assigned to go find the lockers. She sits and what is she gonna put into Google to find them? That if you draw out that path, you are able then to identify, the best way to reach those people. Because otherwise, like I was saying, we were just thinking, if people just generally know about us, then they'll start looking for us at these events. But the consumers don't really work that way, right? They have to be given a little bit of structure, and you have to catch them at the right time. So my first suggestion would probably be to literally do that. Like, your ideal customer, what steps are they taking to, at the end, make that purchase from you? But then the other thing is, if you don't have the experience, don't be nervous about that. Don't take any, we don't need to be, we can throw our pride to the side, right? And just ask people, go on your LinkedIn page and say, hey, can anyone give me, 10 minutes to just pop on the phone and can I pick your brain? And you're probably connected with people who, know a lot and are happy to share, even if it's just an email connection. The other thing that I always tell people is take advantage of your local small business administration office. You don't have to be a new business. You don't have to be a startup or anything like that. You could have a 15-year-old, hair salon and go in and they'll give you completely free counseling from professionals that have been there and done that. And they're either donating their time or they're like staffed at the small business administration. So I would say definitely take advantage of that.
That's interesting. That's one of those things I've heard recommended. And it's so hard for me to believe that any government organization can help you with entrepreneurship.
I know.
People do. There's actual, I heard, tell me if this is true, that it's mostly just the people that volunteer are mostly just retired, people that are retired and have done some entrepreneurial endeavors.
That's it? Yeah. So I went, I've gone a couple times and I went, I was actually looking for some funding. I didn't actually need to go through that route. It ended up coming to me in different ways. But yeah, I went in looking for that and they were like, there's so much more here for you to take advantage of. So I sat down, I want to say I was in a room with, can't remember exactly what his career was, but he retired early. He was probably early 50s, had been a business owner, bought and sold businesses and was now literally volunteering his time. And he said he went through my whole business plan with me and everything. It was great. I couldn't believe it.
Thousands of dollars.
So it's real.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Man, I love that idea about asking on LinkedIn because it gives people opportunity to, in a non, self-aggrandizing fashion, sort of
right.
their own knowledge and how much they know. And
exactly.
Free consulting. I can't believe I never tried that. Have you done that? Has it worked out?
I've actually done it. So I haven't done it on LinkedIn. I've done it on Facebook. So I've done it so I was having trouble because I had never myself gone through the hiring process of, how do you create a good job description? Where do you post it? What do you do for the interview process and all that? So I posted for that and I had a couple friends who we just emailed back and forth and I just asked them a few quick questions and they gave me some good advice that I still use. And then I've also done it for a little bit of social media stuff, like every now and then if I get stuck on something, I couldn't figure out how to put a video on Instagram when they first started doing the videos because it wasn't long enough. And I was like, I started Googling, how to make an Instagram video. And I was like, you know what? I'm just going to put it on Facebook. And one of my friends just emailed me. He was like, hey, use this program. It's the best one and it's free. And it took 10 seconds for someone to see it and comment on it. And so I would say, I've used Facebook more than I have LinkedIn, but I think LinkedIn, if you're really looking for a lot of advice, there's going to be someone who's happy to talk to you about it and just be, I don't want to say a mentor because that sounds so formal, but someone who's just happy to share.
That's so awesome. I'm about to take that strategy to the bank. I don't know what it is. I'm pretty shameless about question asking in real life. And for business emails, I've done so much cold outreach, but for some reason with my personal social network on Facebook, and LinkedIn, I hardly ever do that. I don't know why I've never thought of that. Maybe I feel like it's a cordon off. I can't do it. I don't know.
Exactly. Yeah. But chances are you have so many people and sometimes it's nicer. I actually also did it now that I think about it. It's been on the back burner, but we've been trying to sync up with sponsors. So at some point we want to, have a sponsor provide the lockers as a complimentary amenity at events. And on that note, probably about 3 months ago, I had some time and I just posted on Facebook and I said, hey, does anyone have any experience with events and sponsorships? And friend of a friend of a friend who I don't know when we even became Facebook friends was like, hey, do you want to call and we'll chat for 10 minutes? And
that's awesome.
And he gave you some good advice. Yeah. So I would say definitely use it. You never know who's going to come out of you don't even know who's seeing your post, so you don't know who's going to come out of the woodwork. So
yeah, that's
definitely do it.
I have no idea. That's super cool. That's super cool. I love that. I'm definitely going to use that one. Any other advice for people just in general that you've learned that maybe is unexpected, going on this entrepreneurial journey? I know back when you guys got posted, your company got posted on Starter Story, you guys were already doing like $34K a month in revenue. So I'm guessing you guys are doing a lot more now, but you've obviously been on a journey with this. Any advice unexpected for people?
Oh my gosh, probably so much. But I would say definitely, one big thing is the biggest struggle that I had, and it took me too long to get over, was I had a little bit at times fear of spending money. So, when you first start and your budget's so tight, you just think, I can just do it. You're feeling super overloaded with sales. Oh, I can just work until 11 tonight. Oh, or for me, it was a lot of events that we had to do, and I just say, I'll just do it. And that took away from my work-life balance and made me not enjoy my work as much and didn't let me enjoy my life as much. So definitely one thing is, obviously don't overspend. We don't want to be reckless with our money, but really take into account, what's going to be more worthwhile. Me paying someone, $25 an hour to help out for 10 hours a week, or me, and then I get to have dinner with my husband and go for a run, or am I going to burn the candle at both ends? So that would be one big thing, because I think it's, especially when you're working on a small budget, it's really hard to make those commitments and say, yes, I'll bring someone on. Related to that note, it's really hard to let go of responsibility. So, when you bring someone in, it's just so easy to say, I know this, I can do this better, or not fully trust that, the people that you brought on can do it as well as you can. But you've got to delegate, you've got to get the responsibilities spread out. I always try to work with one of my first companies that I worked with, we always had the hit by the bus scenario. So basically the owner of the company, she was like, you've got to have someone else who knows your job, because God forbid you get hit by a bus. Your job needs to keep happening, which was very, insensitive maybe now that I'm looking back on it. So if you get hit by a bus, you need to make sure your work's still continuing. But that kind of thing, if something happens to you, God forbid, and emergencies happen, you just need to make sure there's someone that can step in and maybe just on a very, high level, keep things going. So it's good to delegate, get people involved, not go it alone. Those would probably be my two big pieces of advice.
Yeah, no, that's definitely awesome. Would you have, if you had someone there, would you think you would have considered doing something like a co-founder setup or something like that?
I think so. I probably would, so my advisors that came on to help me initially, they were sweat equity partners. And I really liked starting in the capacity that I did with them, where we had sort of an informal agreement, but an understanding that they were going to help me, get the ball rolling. And, for 6 months I could call them and they would come and help. And they did. They came to events, and any question I had, they were there. And then as things went along, they sort of went off on their own path, and I took things over a little bit more. If I could do it all again, I might bring people in earlier, because I was going at it alone for a little too long, I think. But again, on a not so much on a partnership level, but I probably would have farmed off the event work a little sooner. So someone is like what they do right now, where they're on site at the event, they're managing operations there and doing the sales reports and that kind of thing. So probably on a lower level, not necessarily a co-founder, maybe just because I'm selfish, but but maybe brought in more help on like a lower level earlier on in the game. I probably would have changed that up.